This is Geek Gab with your hosts, Dornall and me, Daddy Warpig. We are back. Geek Gab for Monday, February 3rd, 2024. Today we've got two editors of the brand new publishing company, Arc Press, on the line with us to discuss their publishing venture, to discuss upcoming authors and books, and to discuss the submission guidelines and what kind of books they're looking for, how to fill that out, and most importantly, what kind of books they are not looking for so you can avoid submitting things that absolutely have no chance. But before we get to that, we are going to discuss maybe possibly any news games, reviews and stuff, pocket reviews and stuff. Honestly, I haven't watched any movies since the last show. I've been really focusing on audiobooks, oddly enough.
Well, we did a whole show on audiobooks. I'm not surprised. Anything that we should listen to?
No, I'm continuing to listen to the graphic audiobooks. I really like the sound effects and incidental music and different voice actors doing different characters. I really am into it. And I was looking at it, and I was comparing two different books, and I was like, this has to be two different recordings of the same book. The regular one was like 13 hours. The graphic audio one was like 7.5 hours. And I was thinking, this has to be massively abridged. I don't see how they could get this down to 7 hours. So I went to the Kindle book, and I started reading through the scenes that I had just listened to, and they hadn't skipped anything for like 2.5 scenes. And I was mystified for about a day on how they could have gotten so short a recording, cut out so much stuff without actually cutting out anything. And then I realized, when you're making a full cast recording, there are actually a lot of things that you absolutely require in a book that you can just cut out in an audio production, like "she said," or "angrily," or sometimes walking is demonstrated by someone walking. Shots coming in, gunshots, can be demonstrated by literal gunshots sounding out. And even reading the book, which is what your typical audiobook is, you have to say that because you don't have sound effects to demonstrate it. But in a graphic audio format, you can stick train wrecks, you can stick the howls of zombies, or electricity to do lightning bolts from magicians or whatever. So it turns out that there's actually, if you do the sound effects well, it not only gives an aura of greater authenticity and excitement to the books, it allows you to make them more compact without missing any of the content. And that had never occurred to me, because I'm very big. Ever since I started listening to audiobooks, I've been absolute death on unabridged. Will not listen to an audiobook that cuts out any of the content. And I was kind of feeling a little bit cheated when I noticed how short they are, because I felt like they had to be abridging something, but it turns out they're almost certainly not. So that made me happy to realize. So yeah, that's what I've been doing lately.
What are you reading or listening to an audiobook of? Did I miss that, or did you tell us?
Oh, I've been listening to about a dozen books right now. I was listening to a couple of Sarah Moss books because I was interested as to why she was so popular and why people were pushing her so much. And so now I realize why she's so popular. She's so popular because she's a romance author who's operating in well, technically, she has been operating in epic fantasy, but I happened to jump into her urban fantasy / epic fantasy that's really a romance genre book. I mean, it's literally in this second world with completely fictional cities and completely fictional races, and it's not happening on Earth, but the culture and the technology and the slang and the swear words are all modern Earth. They have, so it's not happening on modern Earth, but it is urban fantasy, and they have pizzas, they have pizza delivery, they have, cafes with chairs out on the sidewalks, and I think they had a hot dog stand at one point. So it's a second world urban fantasy that isn't taking place on Earth, but golly, might as well be.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make it bad. I'm not saying that makes it a bad book. It took me a while to get used to. It was like culture shock for a sec, trying to get used to it. I'm listening right now to Cherry Priest's steampunk zombie books.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I've been listening to Michael Truffaut's Fallout Zombie series, the first book in that. I listened to Garth Nix's Left Hand Booksellers of London. I listened to vast swaths of John Ringo's Oceans of Darkness zombie series. I listened to a lot of the audiobooks of that. I still haven't finished it because there's like 14 books now, 12 of which are released, and there's 4 anthologies. So I've gotten up to like number 8 or 10 in that, but I've got all the audiobooks and I'm listening. I've got 200 audiobooks and I've only listened to just a very small number of them. So, but I have been hitting audiobooks big the last couple of months and just plowing through some just to see what they're like, just to see, I listened to Nick Cole's Strange Company in audiobooks. I've listened to several of his Galaxy Edge books in audiobooks, like the first compendium, some of the like Medusa's Edge, the side stories with their bounty hunter who they killed off in the second book, regrettably, because he turned out to be like the most popular character in the series. So I've been, spreading my attention across the vast array of different genres. But I've just been getting familiar with audiobooks, and I've had people tell me they really hate the full acted audiobooks, but they're like radio plays, and I love radio plays. I said that when we did the audiobooks episode 3-4 weeks ago. But yeah, announcements. I feel like I shouldn't say this, but I have to say this. Like, it has now become Kanye West's wife. Her last name is Sensori.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if there is anyone in the world who needs to be censored more based on her outfits, I cannot conceive of this. I don't know, John, if you did you hear about the Grammys tonight?
I heard. I also saw an edited clip of Mr. West and his
Pixelated
equally
bit.
his equally insane quote unquote wife, and this isn't the first time they've done something like this. Does Los Angeles simply not have public nudity or public decency laws?
I have seen her other outfits before, and I guessed based on her previous outfits, because I saw somebody, he just posted the big donkey from, that ogre
Shrek
movie, Shrek, the Shrek donkey, and said, WTF is up with her outfit tonight. And I didn't go look. I just said, based on my previous experience, I'm guessing that it was something totally revealing that was more appropriate for the boudoir or a porno shoot than for public consumption.
She was functionally nude. It was like a tube.
Yeah, to say totally revealing, you would actually need to mean totally literally. It was totally revealing.
It was way beyond my imagination as to what totally revealing would mean. Anybody in the audience, if you haven't seen it, and I'm not recommending you go see it just to see what it was like, she was absolutely, completely nude. She was technically wearing fabric, but the fabric was completely see-through, and it was a mini dress. It was...
Which was like, why did it need to be so short?
could have been ankles to wrist.
I was just looking at it and thinking, of course, it had to be a mini dress because
it reminded me of it reminded me of an old Tom Waits bit in his, like, Dave maybe knows where I'm going, in his like early sort of Skid Row bohemian bit, and he's talking about how while he's playing piano, I was walking down, one of those parts of town, and he's talking about the porno theaters, and he sees, live nude girls, and he sees XXX. He's like, and then I saw one, and it was 10Xs, and I thought, what is that? Women without skin? It felt like this. Because we've been playing this sort of like game of chicken,
sure,
with nudity on the red carpet the earliest I recall was like Rose McGowan with Marilyn Manson. That was like 2000 something. Well, we're still in 2000 something, but and like we were gonna eventually get here, I guess. But like, anyway,
I just, even if. And this was in a Heinlein book. I think it was The Cat Who Walked Through Walls, where they had people who were actually literally nude, but painted up, with body paint. So it looked like they were covered up, so you couldn't tell that, they had completely nude. Even that would be less revealing than what she was wearing.
It's curious. I don't think about... No, wait, isn't his name legally changed to Ye? Isn't that his name?
Sure. I have no idea.
I don't think of Ye. Full disclosure, my 16-year-old daughter, I'm still driving around with her while she gets her practice hours in driving, and she likes to set up her playlist on her iPhone, and of the various rap and hip hop stars that she plays, Ye's the one I kind of like. Having said that, like, doesn't feel like he needs more publicity, such that he should go parading a nude woman on the red carpet. It feels like everyone knows who he is already.
So that was my, cyberpunk dystopia moment for today. We're 9 months into our 9 years into our cyberpunk dystopia, and it's just getting even more dystopia.
I think there's some exciting stuff happening. I think we won 4 trade wars in the last 72 hours.
The Navy released a new shot of their laser ship shooting its big old laser. That was cool.
Laser.
We need more of that.
Is this the Iron Dome kind of thing?
I think it's intended for close-in air defense against like drones and cruise missiles and stuff.
Okay. Interesting.
But it was a nice big. I mean, it looked huge. The laser itself was huge. It was almost the size of the prow of the ship.
Wow.
But that could have been like backscatter from the particles in the air or whatever. The actual beam itself might have been really small. But that was cool looking. We had I'm trying to think of like games that recently released.
I got one for you.
Okay.
The friendly guys at Stonemeyer Games know a captive audience when they see it, and they followed up their absurdly popular game Wingspan. Have you guys heard of this? Wingspan?
I have not.
Oh, all right. We don't have board game geeks here with us today. That's all right. I'm not judging.
I'm quite a board game player, but I haven't been buying recent board games recently.
Well, what kind of games do you like?
Sort of medium plus weight strategy games. I'm into both Euro, but also Ameritrash. Martin Wallace is my favorite designer, so his deeply politically incorrect Struggle of Empires is one of my favorite games. I also love, David does not love, but the game Here I Stand, which is a fabulous 12-hour board game that basically replicates the Wars of the Reformation. I love it because it's utterly asymmetrical. Every player has, you're scoring points, but every player has unique ways to score points. So the Protestants start out as we have no territory, we have no sovereigns, we are a bunch of intellectuals translating the Bible and trying to convert people. Meanwhile, the Turk is we will be pirates and take Hungary from you, right? And it's just absolutely fantastic game. I also love Twilight Imperium. I've got a group, we haven't played in almost a year now, but a group that comes over my house and plays Twilight, big Ameritrash, throwing lots of dice.
Oh yeah,
little plastic minis. It's in its 4th edition now. Such a great game.
What was the first one that you mentioned?
Struggle of Empires.
Struggle of Empires.
Yeah,
never heard of that. Not familiar. I'm more of a Euro than an Ameritrash player.
Oh well, what part of the country do you live in? Are you in the Rocky Mountains somewhere? You should come to my house.
No, I'm on the left coast. We like our crunchy Euros out here.
You're only 8 hours from me, the left coast. So Struggle of Empires is fabulous. So Struggle of Empires is you play the colonialism, right? So you play one of the colonial powers. So you are, this is why I say it's deeply politically incorrect. So you're Austria, Prussia, England, the Netherlands, Spain, France, or Russia. And you don't fight each other's homelands. You never, if you're the English guy, you don't go attack Prussia or Russia. You're fighting for control over everything else in the world, including the Italian and the German city-states, but also India, North and South America. And it's fabulous for a lot of reasons. One is that over the course of the game, you're not only deciding what territories to take, you are deciding what kind of power you are going to become. So you're investing in hiring mercenaries or training local soldiers or in improving your agriculture so you have a larger population, or in government reform to keep government unrest down, or in banking systems. So every player becomes, you start out basically the same, but every player is a radically different superpower by the end. And it's got this fantastic mechanic where the game is played over 3 wars, and in each war you determine the 2 grand alliances by auction. So sometimes the game is won or lost at the beginning of the 3rd war by massive payments on an auction to get that guy in my team or on the other side. It's a wonderful game. Come to my house, we'll play it.
Well, hey, I love it. What's that name one more time?
Struggle of Empires. We can get Daddy Warpig down here. He's not that far from me.
That's great, and that's not the sort of game I typically play. I love those types of games, but yeah, I don't usually do the territory control chits and army sort of game. But if you want to play a politically incorrect Euro, one of the best, and Struggle of Empires sounds fascinating. One of my favorite games of all time is called Puerto Rico.
Oh yeah, that's politically incorrect.
Politically incorrect.
Colonists.
Let me explain for the audience, because it's great.
Colonists.
Instead of fighting over territory, each player is struggling to, be the most effective and efficient plantation on Puerto Rico. They want to ship the most valuable goods back to the home country, right? And so every turn of the game, there's a colonist ship full of colonists, and you need to use these colonists. They need to work your plantations, and they need to work in your buildings to process the goods and make money and basically run an efficient economy. And all the colonists are represented by these little wood pieces, and they're painted dark brown. And so there comes, and I love teaching the game because it's one of my favorite games of all time, but I love teaching the game because for most people, you get about half an hour into the game before you look at them, and they're staring down at the colonist ship, and they go, wait a minute.
Yeah. That's a great game. If you got 5 players who know it. So my friend James Grant and I in England, there was but by the way, it came out in a computer version that was playable, which lets you get in lots and lots of reps and figure out strategies and stuff. But James and I would sit down, we'd play a game straight through in like 15 minutes. It's like, if you know the game, the player before you makes a move, you know what your move is. So yeah, that's a fun game.
Outstanding. Well,
what's the series that's part of? It's there's a series, and they're all boxed and they're numbered on the side. So like Traders of Genoa is in that series, and Notre Dame, and I've got like 4 or 5.
Oh yeah, Princes of Florence, I think.
Princes of Florence also played a lot of reps on. The problem with Princes of Florence, well, this is true of Puerto Rico too. These games lack a mechanic whereby you can directly attack the other player. This is what you need. Princes of Florence should have like a malefactor's deck, and you're like, I play an arsonist, I play a poisoner, I play a rumor monger to attack you and decrease the value of your buildings. But yeah, the whole series is great. I like Traders of Genoa. That's what it is. I think it's called.
And that's the downfall. That's why people who like Euros don't like Ameritrash, and vice versa, because a lot of people like that lack of direct attack, and I don't mind. I love both types of games.
Yeah.
But that's definitely one of their calling cards, where my favorite derogatory term is multiplayer solitaire.
This is it, right? Where you only interact in the auction or whatever. Princes of Florence, absolutely, this is it. Your only interaction is the auction, and then you're like building your little palazzo over in the corner, and it's cool, and you can play it fast, and right, it's cut fun bits. But this is why Twilight Imperium is awesome, because like just when you think you're closing in on the Hakan, your enemy or whatever, suddenly some other player randomly has discovered a wormhole and attacks you in your flank and wipes you out. And the potential, you have to be mature enough that you don't get enraged and throw things, because the temptation is high. But it's great. It's very adrenal, fun, exciting, variable interactions.
Yeah, I need to get more games in like that. I do actually. My local play group is a more, Care Bear sort of group, and that's all right. But the guys who make Wingspan, which is definitely a multiplayer solitaire kind of game, they've created quite a few sequels, and the next one coming up is called Finspan. I got myself a copy. I'll tell you guys how it goes afterwards, but it's all about different breeds of fish, and it's very Euro. I can hear you yawning now. No? I mean, you got your camera on, but
no. I'm just responding to some of the text. Euros can be fun, there are Euros I like for sure. You're exactly right. The critique is that it's multiplayer solitaire.
Oh, that reminds me, Fianna Wolf in the chat. I love that you mentioned Ark and spaceship. I'm not going to repeat that, but space stories like Babylon 5 or Captain Future, whatever. Guys, did you play back in Babylon 5's heyday? They have a hex and shit war game based in the Babylon 5 universe.
So I have actually never seen Babylon 5. This is like one of the things where it's like somehow I missed it when it happened, and I keep meaning to watch it. And my sister has the whole thing on DVD, but I don't know when I would sit down and watch. Isn't it like 6 series or something?
5 seasons.
5 seasons. And I hear mostly high praise of it, but I have not watched it, and I did not play the game.
Go ahead.
You are absolutely the worst. Absolutely. We're at almost 30 minutes into the show, and it is prime time to shift into the main topic. You have the perfect comment to do so, and you go right back into the board games. I had a comment on something else that I was like, oh no, I guess I'll just sit on that comment. It's okay. He's going to go right into the main topic. I won't mention it. I'm okay. I'll just throw that away. And I'm like, okay, here we go. We'll talk about Arc Press. We'll talk about everything. And then
man, I like board games.
Back into the board games. I was like, no.
Hey, man, we've been doing this for years, DW. You ought to know by now. Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of Arc Press, what is that all about? I hope our listeners and or watchers have figured it out. Danny Warpig.
Let's officially introduce our guest.
Yes, you have met at least one of these gentlemen on a past occasion. Take it away.
Okay. We have David and David, DJ Butler, and I don't know how to pronounce your last name.
That's okay. Afshari Rod. I was David A. I was and am David A. to most people. All through school,
So they are two of the editors at the brand new Arc Press. They were the announcement I didn't want to make last week because they were the people we announced at the very end of the show last week that we hoped were coming on in case something bad happened. And then we've got 2 more guests who are coming on next week that I will talk about at the end of the show because in between now and the end of the show, I'm going to be trying to find that email where they're. Oh no! Here we go. Here we go. Christopher Denote and Michael Burke from Raconteur Press are coming on the show next week. So that's 2 more people we've got lined up. But anyways, Arc Press, brand new publishing company, and I have met DJ Butler at Utah's FanX conference, which I post about when I go occasionally when I get pictures with celebrities and stuff because of my family. And then I met several Utah-based authors at the show that year, the first year I went. So, gentlemen, welcome to Geek Gab.
Thank you.
And there, since your original announcement 3 weeks ago, there has been some controversy exploding. And one of the things I asked immediately after that story came out, I first talked to you about 3 weeks ago about coming on the show. And then we had to, bump that by a week, which was tonight. When we bumped you originally, you were coming on last Monday. We bumped it by a week, which was tonight. I asked you, do you want to talk about it? And your answer is no. So we're not going to be talking about that on this show, which is fine with me. This is we're not a controversy show. We're not a political show. And we invite authors on to talk about whatever they feel like talking about, so they can boost their work, boost their press, boost their personal books, whatever. The people who want that content can generally find it elsewhere. I, however, feel like I want to say this explicitly. Arc Press and Baen Books are not in a knife fight to the death, and the perception that they are is mistaken. And so, even though we're not going to be talking about details of the controversy, I feel like that's an important point that I wanted to make. Because I do know people who, obviously, I know people who are involved in both sides, and I haven't talked to anyone about that, but I have read what they've written, and that's definitely the message that everybody is given. So,
yeah, and it's ridiculous. I'm published by Baen. I have 12 novels with Baen. I have 3 more novels under contract with them. Right, probably 4. I'm not trying to harm Baen.
Having said that, we can move on to talking about Arc Press and their new endeavor and what they've got coming up and stuff. So I appreciate your indulgence in talking about that just a little bit. I felt like that was important to get out.
No problem. David, you want to kind of talk about Arc and introduce it?
Sure. I'm trying to like hold in some snark because we're moving on.
Well, let me say this. One of the themes that I've been hitting heavy on this show pretty much since day one, or at least since we started talking to authors and about books, was that publishing has stopped publishing books for boys and stopped publishing books for men. Yeah. The Trad Pub, they've stopped publishing adventure stories. They've stopped publishing action stories. And during the last 2 or 3 years, they have stopped publishing white men at all. That's not sorry, I'm not being racist. That's literally agents and editors of traditional publishing houses have literally put it on their websites that if you are not a minority, if you are not a woman, then you should not submit because you will not be accepted. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's not resentment. That's not, reverse racism. That is just what they've literally said. And so there is a large market that is being underserved. And I've had many former Trad Pub authors who had been canceled, and many indie authors, both in the Pulp Revolution and in other places, who've come on the show. And most of them have been publishing action and adventure books, and I've done everything I can to try and highlight indie publishing and indie authors who have been going in that direction, because I feel it's a vast market that's underserved. And Arc Press, this is why it's important, this is why it's topical and not just me ranting. Arc Press is going to be is looking for those kinds of books.
Yeah, we one of the things we're saying is we want to bring back the great American novel reimagined for the 21st century, and specifically great American genre novel, because we do think that we love literary novels, and I can definitely imagine that we might do some pretty straightforward literary stuff if it has a certain appeal to it, or what would kind of broadly be in that category. But genre fiction is to us the fiction of the age. And I think a great American novel published in probably 26, is going to probably be a genre novel, right? And also part of that is reconnecting with writing things for, what we'll call the great American male reader. That's not to say there's not great American female readers, and but we agree that there is sort of an underserved market for high quality stuff that is something that will appeal to male readers and female readers who like that kind of thing. And we can talk about authors as probably that we're in talks with and signed on. They are not all straight white dudes, but and I think that is not the only people who will enjoy our books. I think a lot of people will enjoy them, but our focus is on sort of again, like reinventing those great novels that we think of when we think of the classics of the genres, and bringing them updated, and also being innovative in how we approach publishing. We're really trying. We're still hammering a lot of this out, but to take the best parts of indie publishing and the best parts of traditional publishing and smush them together into what we think could be a really exciting and cool model for readers and for writers going forward. So.
Well, that's one of the biggest errors of leaving action adventure lying on the floor, and all the varieties of it. You fantasy, action adventure, science fiction, action adventure, weird stories, whatever, is that they are primarily written for a male audience, but lots of women love them and buy them. And they're not just for white men, there are many, many, many people of color, many, many women, many, many people who are, not straight, who love them. But if you just stop publishing them because you identify them as being for straight white males, then you're the one who's being racist and sexist and whatever. And you're literally not serving all of these other people from all across the spectrum of humanity who also love them. And it's idiotic.
Yeah, I think the other thing we want to do, and this maybe makes us, I hope, not sound too much like English teachers, but we do have and I don't mean to sound ideological or rigid in our framework, but we do have our motto that Tony Daniel came up with is the humans win in the end. And that's not a spoiler for the ending of every one of our books, but it is sort of what is the word I'm looking for, Dave? It is a point of view that we have, and we are like unapologetically like pro-human, and we want the books to be fun, but we don't want the books to be throwaway entertainment. Yep. We want people to come away from the book edified in some way, because of the quality of it, the quality of the writing, the quality of the story, the characters, but also that it has a point of view that is, how shall I say it, pro-human and moral at its core. I think that does not say there can be anti-heroes or bad guys in them, right? But that is kind of how we think about things. I mean, we're all right. Tony, Daniel, Dave, and myself are all writers, and there is always a place for, and when we love, literary junk food, but we're trying to do something a little bit elevated But I don't want it to sound like we're doing stuff that's boring, because it certainly won't be that either, right?
Yeah, this is a critic actually once said this about me, and I demanded he explain himself because I wasn't sure whether he was insulting me or not. He said, "You write high lowbrow." I said, "What you talking about, Willis?" And he said,
"There's a reference."
He said, "Look, what I mean is, the stories are fun, the books are fun. But there's something else in them that elevates them, right?" Neil Stevenson talks about having, and he describes this as a vanishingly small space, right? So this is a space that we're trying to reinvigorate, to bring back, which is rollicking good yarns that are also books about ideas.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. Low end brow, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe you just misheard him, Drake, as he meant low and brow. Not impossible. Yeah, that's a great description. So where we are is we are trying to get a pipeline up and started. The three of us are all writers, so we know a lot of writers. We're also all been editors for a while, so we actually all came into it with some manuscripts or writers in mind. So the fact that Larry's working on a book for us has gotten some attention. But one of the books that I think we haven't talked about at all, maybe David, you want to talk about a little bit, it's actually a straight up, I haven't read it, it's a straight up literary novel.
I guess you could say. Are you talking about Pickle Factory?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's this. I am so pumped about this. This is a book that Tony Daniel brought in, and he said, this guy said, he had written an article for. We want to tell the whole history of it, I guess. Is that
whatever?
Okay, the Federalist Tony had, and this guy is talking about the CIA in some way, and this guy contacted him I think this is before Federalist turned off the comments, and they got to talking. And this guy was trying to convince Tony he had been in the CIA, and it's like, sure, that's a convenient thing to say because you can't look that up because if you're a spy, it's secret. But he kind of totally slowly was like, I think this guy was in the CIA, and so he's talking, and they're talking back and forth, they're getting along well. And then he kind of does the thing that everyone kind of dreads, which has been like, I wrote a book. And you're like, oh, man, now I'm going to have to reject my friend. And so he sends him, okay, fine, man. And he gets it. And he goes, man, I love this thing. But he was at Regnery at the time, which they maybe published a couple fiction novel, but it was mostly.
I think they briefly had a fiction line.
Yeah, but really it was nonfiction, and so he just couldn't get anybody to bite on it, and so he's kind of had this as like in his back pocket, for a while. Anyway, and then he was like, okay, one of the first things I want is somebody to read this Pickle Factory and tell me if I'm crazy because I think it's really good. And so I read like the first 5 pages, and I was like, bro. like this, unless this goes really south, I'm already sold. So it is the Pickle Factory. It is written by a former CIA agent. It is a satire of the CIA, and I guess the title. Well, maybe I shouldn't spoil part of the title. You may know where the title comes from, but. There are sections like words in the book that are redacted, it's like in the middle of the narrative, right? Like, because
we're actually redacted.
That we're actually
CIA censor office.
Because you did submit it to the CIA, whatever. And then there's this, it's the funniest thing. Like I was like explaining it to my wife and I couldn't get through parts of it because I was laughing so hard. And it is a spy novel, right? He does do actual spying in the book as well. But I'm really excited about that one. So
it's also a send up of the CIA as a bureaucratic organization.
Oh, that's exactly what it is, right? It is, it is. So probably the tagline that we will put either on the book or in the marketing is a thing which he actually said, which is, I can't remember the exact wording, but it's something like
the biggest secret of all is that the CIA are a bunch of nincompoops.
Yes, are a bunch of nincompoops. And so, this is not a science fiction or fantasy novel. It's not a crime. It's sort of a spy novel, but it's the kind of thing that we really think there is an audience for that will love this. And that, this book would have been published by somebody like Random House, 50 years ago, right?
But this guy is not gay or, an Armenian refugee or whatever. There's nothing cute about him under the wokeness regimes.
I saw that line on Twitter today.
About the CIA? I wonder if it was him.
I might have tweeted at one point. I heard it in editorial conference with David and Tony. It may have been me, actually. That's such a great line.
Yeah, I mean, so that I'm really excited about that, and we will be at LTUE coming up here in 2 weeks ish, right? Week and a half, whatever that is, and I think he is going to be there. Actually, the author is going to come out and be at. I don't know if he'll be at the booth with us, or we're going to do like a launch event. If you're going to be at LTUE when is it, Dave? 7 on Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday, 7 to 9. I'm actually personally excited because I think we've tentatively agreed tonight that David and I and local musician Craig Nybo may do a Tom Waits cover band for a one-night only engagement and learn 4 or 5 Tom Waits pieces.
10 minutes, yeah. I don't know why we picked something quite so. We'll make it work
because
anyway.
It'll be fun.
It will. That's why. But and then we're I think we also have another thing at LTU at like 1 that same day, right? But we will also have a table there, a booth we don't know where it will be.
Yeah, I think we have a table in the dealer room.
In the dealer's room,
yeah. And
we will. It's just to plug that. We will. We'll just be there talking to folks, and but we will also be sort of launching and announcing a contest that we're going to be doing. So we can't talk about too much, but one of the big things we want to do. Did we put the press release out? Did you post it?
I have not posted it. Is that how we're supposed to get it out? Is posted on Twitter?
We're going to say it. Okay, because we'll say as much as is in the press release.
Okay.
There's a novel writing contest. The prize is going to be a $10,000 advance and
a publication
with ARC. So after LTUE, we will have that up and running.
So that's a okay. You're like a world first. You just broke. There you go.
There you go.
On Geek Gab.
We got the scoop.
Well, yeah, we I think Tony told us to post the press release, but he posted it too soon before we were going to jump on here. So post that right now, Dave.
Take that, Fandom Pulse.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, John.
Oh,
John Delaro's hanging out in the chat. Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you, man. Really appreciate you guys.
And that is. I mean, I just told you a little bit about it, but we will have more details. It's not just write us a book. There is some more to it than that. So, but we're excited about that. And there will also be, well, we'll leave it at that. I don't know.
Yeah. So we're at Superstars of Writing in Colorado this week, and then next week we're at LTUE. Yeah. So let's see. We talked about other books. What other books do we have that? Travis Corcoran. I think we talked about. We've named him publicly. He's working on it's basically the Texas War of Independence, but on Mars,
right?
And against the Chinese. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be a cool military science fiction. Maybe not so much militia science fiction, maybe, but it's patterned on the Texas Revolution, and so America is was weakened, but is kind of on the rise again. Mars is a harsh master, yes. And there are these Americans living on Mars and have been for a while, but then the Chinese sort of control it, but have, much like the Texas Revolution, have largely left them alone. But now that America is sort of rising in the world stage, they suddenly don't love these Americans living up. But the Americans kind of see themselves as Martians now. And anyway, if you study Texas history, you can kind of guess what happened. But yeah, I think that is right, Dave. The moon is a harsh master. Yeah. So we're excited about that. And they put me, I think Tony put me on there because I'm the resident Texan. What about anyway, what else can we talk about that we've?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Working with one guy, a fantasy that's kind of like a kids on dirt bikes, sort of in an 80s sense, right? In the 80s, the kids on dirt bikes were always saving us from things, and it's sort of a kids on dirt bikes fantasy novel, with giants, involving giants, and set in modern Israel. We're working with a guy. Well, I don't know. Some things we don't have contracts yet with. Maybe that's all we should talk about for the moment. What do you think?
I'm trying to think. Yeah, we've sort of.
We're already working with writers to sort of.
Yeah, we've got a handful
of books. Yeah.
At LTUE, we will have a board up with some more people on there, but maybe we shouldn't say too much more. But I think we will have some book. I'm going to try give a smidge of a scoop that's not actually a scoop.
Oh, here we go.
Just that we will have some books by people you will recognize, but that you would maybe not expect a genre publisher to have books by them. Maybe, is that a good way to put it, Dave?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, all right, we'll leave it at that. That's your tease.
Yeah. So the question was asked in the chat, and I've been over here in the chat a little bit engaged, but let me just say it also for anyone who's watching. We are open to submission. We are hearing from agents, by the way. We've gotten submissions from agents, from big name agents, and actually big name writers. But we're open to submissions from anyone. That we like to. JD Vance would be a fun get. We have not heard from him yet, to my knowledge. That would be an interesting one. Hillbilly Elegy in space.
I love the idea of him just pitching us, but everything is Hillbilly Elegy in space. He's like, okay, it's like Hillbilly Elegy, but in Lord of the Rings.
With a dragon.
It's Hillbilly Elegy underwater. Like everything.
Just wrote a Saturday Night Live skit there.
Yeah.
So Tony worked a number of years at nonfiction publisher and really got to like the way nonfiction books are pitched, which is with a proposal. And a proposal is a little bit more involved than a query letter. Not a lot, a little. So we've got a great memo written by Tony and revised by David.
And then re-revised by Tony, where you took out most of what I put in, but no.
Which explains what we're looking for, which is to say, in terms of like a proposal, like what is a proposal? Basically, it's sure, give us a little query, but like then also, so the most complicated things we want you to do to tell us the story, right? Not give us the setup and leave us hanging. Like that's fine for like the first bit, but like tell us the story as if you were just going to tell it to somebody. If you had just 10 minutes and you were verbally telling someone, my friend Doranal, here's the story. Do what how'd you do, including like the end, right? So and then it's other information. I mean, like your contact detail and questions about an opportunity to tell us if you've got some kind of a platform you can sell from, that kind of stuff. along with a writing sample, which probably really means you paste in the first chapter of the book, right? Because especially if you are not previously published, or if you're previously indie published, you're not really going to pitch us a book, and we're not going to buy a book on a proposal. We're going to buy a book if the manuscript exists.
Yeah. So can I jump in, Dave?
Do it.
You mind? I was just going to say, so how you do this in nonfiction is you don't have the book written, but we could conceive of a world where who's someone that's dead? Robert A. Heinlein could send us a proposal. Well, Robert Heinlein could send us anything, but could send us a proposal without having written the book, and we would be like, sure. But, you know, realistically, unless it's someone at that level, you know, we really want you to have the book written. But instead of sending us the whole book right away, sort of like you do with agents, right? Agents, you send a query letter, sometimes a synopsis, and then like the first whatever many pages they ask you for. That's kind of what we want to see from most 99% of people, right?
Right.
But in this slightly different format. But we want you to have the book done because we want to know that you can do it.
Can write a book.
Quite frankly. And so,
in fact, by the way, it's not unlikely that if we have not worked with you before, and we read your proposal and like it, and we read your manuscript and we like it, we're probably usually not going to fall in love with a manuscript and say this is perfect as is. Probably going to have some ideas for how we'd like to see it revised, and we might very well say, hey, listen, we're interested. Here's the changes we'd like to have made. What do you think about that? And we invite you to do a revision before we buy it. And that's because if we don't know you, we need to somehow find out if you can work with us.
Yeah.
Take comments, if you can hit deadlines, if you can communicate. And that's a way to do it. And I know it feels like, come on, you like the book, buy it. But like, we got to figure out if we can be in a relationship with you.
Yeah, because I think one thing that can happen is sometimes people are not good at taking editorial direction. And even if, and you'll say like, well, you need to do this and this, and they'll be like, sure. And then they'll do it. And you're like, okay, when I said you need to, describe the character more, I didn't mean you like Control F'd their name and then put 3 more words, right? Like, yeah. So there is that, but I got lost here for a second. But the proposal thing, I don't want people to get scared by it. It's really, it is not so different from query letter and synopsis. We don't want to. The thing with the synopsis is, I think people hear that and they think very dry, and that's not. We want, like Dave said, want it like you're telling it to your buddy, and we want to get the feel for your writing. But what we really want from that synopsis is, does this person know how to like construct a story? And that's what we need to know, the main beats in the end, right? But we don't want a beat sheet. We want,
tell us the story.
Tell us the story. There you go. That's the perfect way. Tell us the story of the book. Yeah. And so, too many times people will do the like end on, or will he die trying? And it's like, well, I need to know what the ending of it is, and I don't want to read 100,000 words to realize you did not know how to end it.
And the chances that he's going to die trying are probably 0 because
yeah,
right.
But I think without giving away details, and it may not even be that you can't do it. It just may not be that because of the ending. It may not be the book for us. Dave got a guy. I won't give too much details. Don't worry, Dave. Dave's getting nervous, but. It was just the ending of the book was just not going to be something that we were going to publish. It wasn't that it was bad. It probably worked thematically and in the story, and it followed a arc and everything, but it wasn't the kind of book that we want to do. And so, but if it had a completely different ending, maybe it would have been a book we would want to do. Right. So that's why we're kind of asking for that.
And that will eventually be on our website. And Corbin, I see the question. I'll get to you in a second here. That'll be on our website for the moment, because we're just sort of like we're in midair, 30,000 feet, and like we're building the airplane right now, right? So our website is rudimentary right now.
It's very like everything is sort of like 1, 2, 3, go. You know, you're like, well, we need to get. You got to do everything because there's some things you've got to do before others, but you got to do both of these things at the same time. But you got to do this, so
100%. So for right now, we're using my Discord server. I posted an invitation in the chat. It's pretty lively. It's a bunch of writers. Please behave so I don't have to boot you. I've never booted and blocked anybody, but I certainly am willing to if I have to. It's ostensibly my Discord server, so you're going to see a bunch of channels with, not ostensibly, it is my Discord server. So you see a bunch of channels with my different books or whatever. But also, it's true, actually, John would boot you. John is in fact the moderator. But there's a couple channels that are real specific to ARC. There's a place we can put announcements, and there is a place called the Gopherwood Lounge, which is kind of a chat orient, like an ARC oriented chat. The memo, the Tony memo is a pinned comment in both of those channels. Is the place to get it. In terms of length, so David's already talked about genre, right? So we're interested in genre fiction, could even be literary, right? But probably science fiction, fantasy is probably the bulk of it. Thrillers, we're reading thrillers, love to read more thrillers. Mysteries, we would be happy to see a Western. No one has sent us a Western yet. That doesn't mean we're actively looking for Westerns, but like that's a genre. We would like it to be interesting to male readers.
I like that. That's a genre.
Well,
nurse romance, that's a genre.
In theory, if there was a romance novel that was aimed at male readers, I think we'd be interested in that too. But like, because probably that's mostly not what romance is aimed at. Other than the Scarlet Pimpernel, which is the only male-oriented romance I'm aware of.
You know, there was that whole genre of like, there was those magazines, ranch romance, and they were actually like pretty dang hard-boiled, but they did, they were little.
That's funny.
Please, God, don't send Tony Daniel 100 ranch romances. He will murder me if he finds out the source of those.
You're about to get nonstop Western romance mysteries.
I don't think the Discord link came through because only.
Oh, does it get blocked?
Yeah. We'll make sure that the Discord link is in the show notes if you guys don't mind.
Okay.
And I'll make sure that a link to your site is also in there. I had a question that's sort of been floating in the back of my mind since you were talking about submissions and authors that you had signed and that you have other authors signed. And this is going to sound a little naive from me, but what type of author is going to submit to you or should submit to you, and what's the value proposition for a potential author? And if you want more context, is because we also speak with a lot of independent authors, and there's a huge growing movement or belief that indie is the way to go. So what is it that you are offering or hope to offer an author that he couldn't or wouldn't want to do sort of on his own as independently published author?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So first of all, we'll offer editing. Editing is I'm going to say some stuff here, and some of you are not going to like this. Okay. I've read a lot of indie books. I'm aware of your indie genres. I know about all the little Amazon Neo genres. There's a lot of shit out there. Okay. There's a lot of bad stuff. And there's people who write bad stuff and don't know it because it sells. And they think that means that it's good stuff. And it isn't. And by the way, there is a huge difference between having somebody who, as an editor, who actually has the power to say no to you, as opposed to somebody who you hire as an editor. The power dynamic changes everything. A writer benefits from a relationship with an editor who gets to know the writer, the writing style, the world, and can help guide the writer to be a better writer. Also, you'll benefit from professional layout and cover design and covers that you will not have to do yourself. You will benefit from the sales and sort of channels that we are building out. We are still working out exactly the royalty strategy that we're going to deploy, but specifically the objectives, and we're familiar with both the indie and the traditional markets and how they work. Trying to design a royalty strategy that is attractive, that where an indie writer says, oh, okay, I see how if I do this, there's a way for me to make money that's competitive with if I did it myself. And also the same for traditional authors. We pay advances. So those are, that's how I see it. Having said it, we're still building the ship, and we'll see how it evolves.
Well, outstanding. Thanks for that.
Yeah, it's a good question. And there's a question, Corbin, somebody, and sorry, we got
Beck
pulled
to
away.
Corbin asks about the you're talking about 100,000 words.
Yeah. So I don't think we said 100,000 words, and actually, in fact, I don't think we talk about word length at all in our memo proposals, right, or anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of classic genre stuff, you think whether it's sort of Louis L'Amour's or the Heinlein Juveniles, a lot of it was fairly short novels by today's standards. We are certainly open to short novels. Now, having said that, we're probably not going to publish novellas unless in extraordinary circumstances. Also, it's unlikely we're going to do short stories. Because basically we're just not going to do it. We're novel publishers. So having said that, if you had a 60,000 word novel, we would for sure look at it.
Great. I don't know if we mentioned this before the start of the show, but we usually go for an hour. But that doesn't mean that we have to stop talking about anything that you want. I just want to bring that up so that we can get any last questions in. Chat's been super lively. You guys have been great. Yeah, you need to be an admin to share any links in chat. So trust me.
John's trying to work it out.
We will get the link to you guys after the show.
Just futilely trying to post.
I really appreciate it.
Daddy Warpig, I actually just sent you the link in the Twitter DM, so hopefully it comes through there and you can put it in the show. Anyway.
Great.
I will take care of that.
Warpig, last chance for questions or anything?
No, I do need to. I do need to talk for a second after the show's over with our illustrious guests. But other than that, no.
Oh, cool.
All right, last chance. Any topics or anything that you want to get off your chest, David? We'll start with you.
No, this has been fun, and it is always a good time for more Dr. Pepper. As again, the resident Texan,
you're speaking my language now.
And if you can get it with Imperial Pure Cane sugar, that's the Dr. Pepper to drink. not the corn juice, the corn syrup Dr. Pepper. I mean, it's still good.
This is how I am most interested in making America great again. I would like to stop subsidizing corn and put sugar.
It is astonishing how much better it tastes.
It is so much better.
It is. I switched back to I'm a cursed Pepsi drinker, boo hiss, but I switched back to their pure cane sugar, and it's still gonna kill me, but whatever. I enjoy it.
Yeah,
so much more.
I don't drink as many as I used to, but
yeah, amen on Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper. No.
So what about? I heard a rumor. Wait, I don't know where I heard this.
Okay, go.
Is it true that some people warm up a Dr. Pepper on the stove?
So this was a thing. Okay, so this was a thing that happened in the 60s, roughly.
Okay.
Which was that they're like, everyone's drinking coffee in the morning, and they were trying to find ways. Well, look, can we sell them soda? Because it's got caffeine in it. Not really as much caffeine as coffee
you just
does.
Drink it cold with your breakfast.
But they were like, but somehow like everyone wants hot coffee in the morning. So yeah, it was a thing. It was hot Dr. Pepper, and it's pretty good actually. You're supposed to cut you can find the old ads, a circle, a slice, I guess, of lemon, and put it in the bottom of the cup, and then you pour hot Dr. Pepper over it, and you drink it. If you remember that movie, which I loved for obvious reasons, if you look at my hair and glasses, but called Blast from the Past, with Brendan Fraser. And
Alicia Silverstone.
Oh yeah, they
which is about his dad is sort of this paranoid, worried about the commies in this like the late 50s, early 60s, and he builds an incredible bomb shelter, and then an airplane is landing, crash landing, and he thinks that it's, this is it, this is the war. And so they go down in, and he sets the thing for 25 years or 20 years or however long. And so Brendan Fraser, his whole life, has lived in this, but it's, it's huge underground. It's very silly. Your bomb shelter can't really look at that. And then he comes out, and it's, he's shell shocked because, he's essentially lived in the 60s with just his parents his whole life, right? And anyways, it's a pretty charming film, but his dad is always drinking hot Dr. Pepper in that movie. Awesome. Like we ended up talking about Happy Days on this Twitter Spaces. Now we're talking about Dr. Pepper.
Hot Dr. Pepper and Brendan Fraser.
I know you guys are all into this publishing thing, but all I got out of this conversation for me is that we need to hang out and drink Dr. Pepper, cold or warm, and play some
either way,
board
anytime.
Games.
Correct.
Anytime.
Correct.
No, I'm up for the board games. I'm not even kidding.
That you'll have to talk to Dave. Dave, this Here I Stand game, and Dave was like, because he thinks it's funny for anyway. And I was like, well, I'm not really a gamer. He's like, starts me out.
Here's what's really funny about this. Okay,
it's 12-hour.
Is Christopher? We got Christopher Rocchio, who's pretty committed, hardcore kind of Catholic, and David's Lutheran. So I had them playing the Pope and the
Protestant. Yes, sure.
Right. And it was a great game until like 5 minutes in, when Chris DeBow said, the five of us should gang up on Dave, and you all didn't even demand anything in exchange. You just agreed you would gang up on Dave. I didn't know how this is supposed to go. Stupid immediately. This is not, and of course I'm a good sport, so I'm just sitting there playing a game where everybody's attacking me for like 4 hours.
The conceit of getting me and Christopher to play for that purpose was excellent, and I applaud you. It was maybe not the game to start us off on, is all I'm saying, in terms of ease of play and easing us into that world.
I did that to my co-host once in one game.
It's a burden being the guy at the table that everybody just looks at and says, yeah, we're going to take care of him first.
I worry that guy's going to win.
Oh, we all know John was the best at the table in whatever game we were playing. So I was the one who said, we have to take John out because if we don't, he's going to win. And everybody knew I was right.
I was also the guest of honor at the con, so maybe it was a good way to take me down a peg.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta get some notoriety in there.
All right. I think it's time to go. So unless anybody else has any other last minute comments, I'm going to kick us out.
Awesome.
I'm good. Thanks so much, guys.
All right, here we go. How do I start this, John?
I don't remember. I thought you wrote down a script one day.
I just remember how to do this.
I usually
this for
Water
10
wrapper.
years. Folks, I want to thank everybody who turned in and listened live. I want to thank everyone who tuned in, who will tune in and listen later. This has been Geek Gab for Monday, February 3rd, 2024. We do this show just about every Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. You can check us out on youtube.com/GeekGab. Once again, that's youtube.com/GeekGab. We are also available on the Apple iTunes Store, on the Google Play Store, and on SoundCloud.com. Just do a search for Geek Gab. You can download us to the device of your choice, listen to us on the web, or listen to us on your computer, whatever you prefer, because that's kind of wild and awesome guys we are. We are signing out for today, but don't you worry, don't you fret. We will be back.